You see, what's happening in Ukraine is perhaps the biggest war in Europe since World War II. It has resulted in a series of repercussions, starting with sanctions. It's impacted the global economy in more ways than we actually realize. Supply chains have been affected. Food prices have touched a sky high. Energy has become more expensive. Countries have tightened their monetary policies. The combination of all of this, along with COVID, has resulted in fears of a recession, and a recession that could really devastate the global economy this year in 2023. Now, what's a recession? It is a period of economic decline, and it typically lasts 2 quarters or more. Earlier this week, at Davos, the World Economic Forum released a survey of its chief economists, and that survey said a majority of chief economists believed a global recession is likely in 2023. Of them, at least 18% believe that the prospect is not just likely, but highly likely. Now, I wouldn't take that prediction lightly, because the consequences are something that is going to be affecting all of us. And if you ask me, this is not entirely on unexpected lines. Remember, the IMF, or the International Monetary Fund, expects around a third of the global economy to enter recession in 2023. Will India be among this one-third? Well, perhaps not. IMF's Geeta Gopinath believes that India will be a bright spot. Many other people feeling that way as well. Gopinath told a gathering in Davos that India is in a good place, adding many countries are looking at India as an investment destination at this point, especially as they try to diversify out of other countries, including China. So in this case, India is an exception. Who knows, if China continues to look really grim, then India may even be a beneficiary of all this economic crisis. But for the world, the macro picture is pretty grim right now. The IMF has, for example, cut global GDP for the year to 2.7%. And no surprises there. You see, a prolonged period of instability is bound to take a toll on the global economy. Do you remember what the Collins English Dictionary's word of the year for 2022 was? Permacrisis, which means an extended period of instability and insecurity. So, I think what I'm trying to say is we all need to learn to adjust to this all through the year. And we are going to be looking a little bit as to how it's going to affect all of us. Don't take too much, don't relax too much saying, well, India itself is okay, that's fine if you're in India, but whatever's happening in the rest of the world is going to affect us. So some of the important questions: how long is this period going to last? How long will the recession last? How bad is it going to be? Also, what does a recession mean specifically for you? Could mean that your earnings take a hit. Could mean your salary goes down. It could mean that you have a job loss. With the market suffering losses, your investment portfolio too may well take a hit. So what should you do? This may be one time where you would welcome a little bit of gyan, so I'm going to try and give some to you. Lesson number 1, of course, is try not losing your job right now. May be difficult, but try not losing your job. And that is something I'm going to be talking about a little later in this program. But other than that, number 1, try paying off the debt that you have, especially high interest debt. I'll tell you why. Because as banks raise their rates, your credit card interest could go up too, your housing loan interest could go up too. So that's number 1. Number 2, save up for an emergency. God forbid you are laid off. You need to ensure you have enough to sustain yourself and your family for a couple of months. And number 3, focus on budgeting. Now, you may say, too late to tell me to save. I haven't been saving all this time. But you can still budget. Make sure that at a time like this, you're not spending unnecessarily. This is not the time to go and bust a lot of money on things that are luxuries or that you could hold off for a period of time. This could be a bad time. It could be a bad year. So be a little careful right now. A bear market is very different from a bull market. And in any case, a lot of the stuff that you're busting up in some of your essentials as well could well end up costing a lot more. Starting with fuel, energy, already burning a hole in our pockets. In India, for example, petrol costs more than 100 rupees or $1.23 in 3 out of 4 metros, 106 rupees in Kolkata, 106 plus in Mumbai, 102 or so in Chennai. These are not the prices that you should normally have. The fact that the prices are here is partly because of that war in Ukraine and partly because we are living in unprecedented times and are fighting unprecedented battles and a number of crises at the same time. Now, what do all of these crises mean for us? This has been a major subject of discussion at Davos. So I am going to get a sense of what the impact is on the global economy with two very special guests joining us from Davos. Boj Brende, who's the president of the World Economic Forum, the person who's organized all of Davos, and also Joe Kaiser, the chairman of the supervisory board of Siemens Energy. Gentlemen, welcome to Beyond World is One. This is This World. My first question is to you. Boj. We've read the findings of the Chief Economists survey, and we understand the direction it's pointing at, and it's not a pleasant direction. I still wanted to ask you, what do you personally feel? Do you think a recession is coming up in 2023?
So we really now need to avoid that we end up like in the 70s. Then we had a decade of low growth, high inflation, high debt, and high unemployment. With now making sure that we get control of the inflation, later on can start to reduce interest rates and also continue to trade and invest. There will be no recovery if we don't have a trade and investment recovery. A further fragmentation of the global economy, that is like really a toxic cocktail that we should not make and we definitely should not drink.
Okay, Joe, let me just zoom into the energy sector. With everything else that's happening, war, energy, being trapped in the war, all of this stuff, would I be right in saying that energy is perhaps the biggest crisis right now? It was certainly one of the major subjects of discussion there at Davos. Energy, that crisis, the number one crisis the world is battling.
Energy crisis is crisis for many economies, but not for all. If you look for the United States, it's a big opportunity. If you look at the Middle East, it's a big opportunity. So, there is crisis, but there is also opportunities, and we need to bring those two together.
Would you also say that in a host of the crises that seem to be facing us right now, energy, that's one of the things that would be worrying you?
So without energy, no development. Energy prices that have been soaring has also led to inflation. It has also led to stagnation in industry production and unpredictability. I think we are now seeing that this is more under control than it was just a few months ago. We are seeing that the energy and gas prices are going down in Europe. We see a lot of renewables being injected into the global energy mix. That's also good for climate. So hopefully we will be able to deal with this triangle in the energy picture, like energy access, decoupling from CO2, and then energy security.
Okay, Joe, we've just been getting some sense of what's happening in Ukraine a little earlier in the program, and I'm sure the audience wants to know. What do you think, looking ahead at the rest of the year, is the cost of energy in general, and perhaps in Europe in particular, going to continue to go up courtesy of the war?
Well, look, I mean, as a global player in so many industries, we are not too worried about regional inflation or recession in some economies. The world still offers a lot of opportunities. Just talk about India. It's full of opportunities. The Prime Minister, in the meantime, looks for improving the infrastructure. So all the industry will look to India, what they can do. So there's a lot of countries and economies which provide a vast opportunity.
All right, I'd like to thank both of you so much for joining us from Davos, from the World Economic Forum at Davos, where those subjects have been discussed.
Thank you for inviting me.
Sure, thank you. Bye.